Newspapers talked about it. People wanted to know. But nobody could penetrate the mystery. What was going on? Strange flying machines were ploughing the skies of Italy. It was the 50s. Some people took incredible photos. Others were frightened and shouted, "They're here! They're among us!" While still others believed the aliens had come to help. But who were they? Where were they from? Above all, what did they want? Many knew but kept quiet. A mystery that has remained as such for decades. A secret now revealed. Friendship. The incredible story of mass contact between humans and extraterrestrials. Until recently, the phenomenon of contactism, or the deliberate encounter repeated over time between men and evolved extraterrestrial entities, was believed to involve only a few chosen individuals, or contactees. Many of them went down in history. George Adamski, Howard Menger, Eugenio Siragusa, just to name a few. All of them faithfully abided by this cliché. But in 2007, something happened that would change the cards on the table. Stefano Breccia, an engineer from Marche living in Abruzzo, published some startling papers that seemed to reveal the story of repeated direct encounters between more than 100 people and extraterrestrial beings living in numerous secret bases on our planet. The main figure of the event told by Breccia is the writer Bruno Sammachicha. The case is said to have taken place mainly in and around Pescara. It would all begin in 1956 and would last for many years. The film clips and photographs that have emerged so far are of considerable interest, but even more extraordinary are the testimonies of the individuals involved. Everyone called this story friendship, and that is the name that has come down to us today. Thanks to Stefano Breccia's courage, one of the most awe-inspiring sagas in ufology has come to light. It wasn't an easy decision to decide to make it known.
It all started from an idea by Bruno Sammachicha. He'd been thinking about writing down his experiences and then asked me to be the one to do it, and so I was at his house for a month to record his stories. Then I put everything together.
Besides granting his dear friend's wishes, Breccia had set himself another objective.
One reason is to hope that it might work as bait to encourage other people in the group to come forward.
Gaspare De Lama and his wife Mirella are among those still alive today who were involved in the friendship events and who accepted Breccia's invitation to come forward. They now live on the shores of Lake Como. Gaspare admired Stefano's courage to expose himself so directly, despite being a well-known figure in science and academia.
He had no hesitation about exposing himself, and I admired him for that. And so coming out and talking about my experience becomes easy for me, because it gives me great joy. The joy of being able to tell people something that can help them understand more, or make their doubts grow or disappear, or strengthen their belief.
Gaspare De Lama became a fan of ufology in the late 40s and, together with his wife, sought a path to greater awareness. Even Gaspare's mother took part in the events.
Gaspare, his mother Zita, and I had finally achieved our goal, which was to get to know them. We were hoping for an experience with teachers who could help us improve.
In the friendship story, Samachicha called the beings by the name of W56. They weren't a single race, but a group of extraterrestrial beings coming from different parts of the universe. Although they looked like humans, there were considerable differences in height, which ranged from 1 to 6 meters. The first encounter took place in April 1956. Bruno Samachicha was there, along with his two friends, Giancarlo and Giulio.
Bruno said that an old friend had given him this parchment because Bruno collected antiques, and while looking at it, they noticed it was a map of the castle above Ascoli Piceno at Roccapiglia. It seemed to be a kind of treasure map, so they decided to go and take a look at the area. They went there more than once without ever finding anything in particular, until one night when they came across these people. At a certain point, these two came out from a path that runs around the castle, introduced themselves and started to talk. One of them was particularly short, about 1 meter in height, and the other extremely tall, 2.5 meters, something like that. As for the rest, they looked like normal people.
But what happened in that encounter? According to the eyewitnesses, the two aliens spoke perfect Italian. The thing that immediately struck them was the strong sense of love that emanated from these beings. The information they gave to Bruno, Giancarlo and Giulio was awesome, to say the least. They said that Earth had been created for a positive purpose, and that man was turning everything into evil. That the morality level of humans was much lower than their own. They explained that this is a very critical moment in human history. Atomic weapons are capable of destroying the planet in a matter of minutes, a tremendous risk that could come to pass because of our low moral sense. Their task was to ensure that the situation didn't get out of hand. They said they weren't here to conquer, as there was nothing to conquer. That everything stemmed from the need for love and respect, and that everything should be done in accordance. They knew Earth's history, philosophies, and religions perfectly. They said they'd already been on Earth for many centuries, living at secret bases in various places on the planet. They preferred not to reveal themselves publicly because people weren't ready for the contact. They expected a positive return from their activity. Their goodness and their truth would be stronger than human doubts. When they left, it was almost 3 in the morning. The extraordinary experience of friendship began at that very moment. The meetings between Bruno, Giancarlo, Giulio and the W56, also known as the Friends, continued for several months. During frequent long walks on the beach in Pescara, they gave the humans a good deal of other information. Pietro was the name of the captain of the extraterrestrial group operating in Italy. Sigir, Sigis, Itao, Kenio, Sinas, Saju, Meradir, Romulus are some of the names that became common within friendship. They were invented by the humans because the W56 had a different concept for names. One of the most impressive facts regarded their bases. They said they had a number of them scattered around Italy and the world. Their most important European base was right in Italy, and one of the entrances was in fact at Roccapiglia.
The main one was the enormous base at the depths of the Adriatic, almost in contact with the continental shelf, which roughly ranged from Ortona to Rimini as the expanse of its longitude, and in latitude went from the middle of the Adriatic to the Apennines, with an upper limit of 300 meters. So vast that it was affected by normal weather, so at times it also rained inside. Then they had many smaller bases, closer to the surface. There was one in Pineto, one in Ascoli, 3 around Pescara, one near Como, one in the Milan area, and so on. Many of them were genuine centers of support.
But the aliens also explained how they built their bases. In the stories told by Bruno, Giancarlo and Giulio, you're immediately aware of the huge gap in scientific and technological development between humans and the Friends.
They weren't built by digging, but through a particular mechanism. They were able to compress material laterally. The soil would thicken into what would later become the walls of the base, and then the outer structure was formed by extremely dense and therefore extremely strong material. The funny thing was that it was very unstable, but it always had to be kept standing. All you had to do was flip a switch and everything returned to the initial state. So, for them to open and close a base was a very commonplace operation.
The same system was used to create the entry corridors.
Even the bases closer to the surface didn't have stable entrances. When they had to enter, they opened a corridor and then closed it again.
Aside from the facts related to friendship, the presence of secret extraterrestrial bases on our planet is a subject that scholars have long been aware of. Just as there have been numerous cases of contact throughout the world, like the one the American policeman named Herbert Schirmer described, which occurred in Ashland, Nebraska on December the 3rd, 1967.
The experience took place in the United States to the policeman Schirmer, who had a close encounter of the third kind with UFO entities and was allowed on board one of these UFOs. In the course of this encounter with these beings, they told him several things. He would be told that the pilots of UFOs on Earth have different bases of support, and they are both underground and below the seas.
In the case of friendship, Bruno Sammachichia was the leader, the main reference point.
The story of the W-56 had started with him. He knew the most since he'd been in the bases, had met them personally, was telepathic, was the one who held the strings, the one who decided. Not that he was, I'm the boss. The word boss isn't nice, but we saw him as number one.
The relationship that was established between the W-56 and the friendship group was not one way. Very soon, the Friends started asking for help.
At the most prosaic level, they asked for essentially logistical assistance. Then they requested industrial quantities of fruit. Then they needed metals in industrial quantities as usual, but also strange minerals like strontium and barium nitrate, which were very difficult to find since back then they served no useful purpose at all. Today it has applications in telecameras, circuits like that, but in those days we had absolutely no idea what it might be used for.
To unload the cargo from the trucks, including fruit, the W-56 used teleporting.
They proved they could teleport anything, even people, without any particular problem. They took the whole load of fruit and teleported it, which means that the operation only lasted a few seconds.